Hi, my name is Derek Henry and I'm a solutions consultant at BlackLine. In this quick video overview, we're going to look at BlackLine from the perspective of a controller or accounting manager or similar roles. Now, as a former controller myself, I wear a lot of hats and I bet you do too. So, what we're going to look at from the start of this is the dashboards in BlackLine. Now, we were talking about roles. The very first thing to note is that BlackLine is role-based and it is going to enforce segregation of duties. So you cannot review your own work. Now, the dashboards here are going to be tailored to the role you're using. So as you see here, we're a reviewer within BlackLine. So it's going to show us everything that ultimately we're going to have to review. It works the same way as a approver. You would see everything that you'd have to approve. Or a preparer, it's just going to show you what you have to prepare. So everybody stays focused, right? Other roles like CFO or oversight. So you can see everything, big picture at a glance. And we'll look at something similar here at the end because that's something that a lot of controllers might need, right? Without critical information like this at your fingertips, important information and items can be missed or go past due, making that close longer than you want it to be, or having financial statements that aren't necessarily reliable. These dashboards can be rearranged in a way that you see fit. Different things can be pivoted on, like here in a status, you might show it by category instead of entity, stuff like that. This gives you transparency and the ability to see key information for decision making. Now, the task close grid or status grid is where we're going to pivot to next. This is where I spent most of my time as a BlackLine user because you can get very detailed with the filtering to see just what you want to see, things that are ready for your review or things that are past due or things by category or entity, location, whatever the case is, right? I was often a bottleneck as a reviewer, so because I had so much to review. So creatively using these filters and being able to prioritize things can help eliminate that. Now, month-end close is one of the things people use in this. Tracking controls, tracking PBC items. If you want to know how that works, please take a look at the other role-based videos. We'll go into that, or within your tailored demonstration, we can talk about that as well. So there's a lot of use cases for this stuff, but normally a reviewer would come in here, look at things that are ready for them to review, and then they'd look at the dependency around the different things to make sure that the bottlenecks aren't in place. So this item right here is approved. So is this one up here. The blue one would be a rec in a dependency tree. The green one would be a journal entry. And this bottom one would be a task. Well, if you look in the tasks right here that are approved, this is going to be the workspace behind that. So some of the things that approvers and reviewers and people charged with oversight find helpful is that they're very clear expectations set. You've got a clear purpose. Why is this important? Because that makes it engaging, right? If you don't understand why it's important that you're doing things, it might not get done with the right quality or timeliness or urgency. Instructions, whereas purpose is the why, this is like the how and the what. So you're setting very clear expectations, helpful for reviewers and new team members and even auditors. So what we're seeing in the middle is the meat, any comments that were, said back and forth between the people in the workflow. This means it's temporary, so it would go away once the last step would be done, our review that we're about to do. And then you've got any documents that are attached, clearly identified in a centralized place, very well organized because it's attached right here with this thing that we're looking at. You could hyperlink out to other systems if you want. A lot of these things are optional, like saying how long it took to do things. Now that's reportable, so it can help you make sure things are distributed right, things are taking the amount of time that you were expecting, even build trend reports. And below that, optionally, you can set up the steps that users are attesting to. We call it our certification checklist. So right here, the 4 steps that prepare, in this case, checked off that they did. Now you can use any wording, any number of steps that you see fit based on what type of task it is. So you might have a templated statements for journal entries, making sure they're not booked backwards or already booked, or that the right support has been attached, that kind of stuff. You might have a different template for controls that are being done or reports that are built, right? So you can make this specific or generic or based on what type of task it is. And assigned point values, those are reportable, so you can keep the quality control in place, right? Run a report looking for things less than 100. They can have a checklist of preparers, similar checklist for approvers, right? And then you can have your own checklist as a reviewer if you're the second set of eyes. So in this case, we look at this and we've got the right document attached here, and then we would certify. All the review notes were cleared, everything's good to go. We could then certify, right? So you would do that, and that would be the last step, most likely if you're the second reviewer. Now, with reconciliations, it's very similar, right? We would have a similar status grid, but just with different data points, right? Whereas with tasks, it's categorical. It might be based on transaction cycle. With recs, it could be the same kind of thing. Roll up on a balance sheet. You might be looking at things by entity or by profit center, right? You might want to know what the balance is. And by the time it gets to you as a reviewer, that second set of eyes, right? Or the second step reviewer, there shouldn't be hardly anything unidentified. So that might be your first thing. You might filter or sort this by amount descending to quickly see the items that might need to be addressed. Now, if you were going to go into one of these and take a look, this is what a rec looks like in BlackLine. This is a prepaid, so you're seeing all the items. Where were they at originally? Where were they at last month? Where are they at this month? So as a reviewer, you might want to focus on the new items, right? Or the items that are fully amortized. You might want to make sure that they've either been renewed, accrued, or they're really not used anymore, right? Down below, you might have some documentation. Or each of these items, if you want to look at a specific item, there's documentation behind them, commentary. There's the schedule of amortization if you want to see what that looks like for some reason. All these things are very consistent across the different rec types within BlackLine. So you can look down there and see all the different things. Again, the attestation checklist lives in recs, not just in the closed checklist items like journal entries or others. And again, there's yours. So if this is all good to go, you could review that. Now, one of the things I would add based on the way I use BlackLine is a review of the balance trend. So when you click this guy at the bottom here, balance trend, you're going to see that at the bottom of every rec in BlackLine. It's going to look like this, right? Showing you where that account balance has gone over time. Great quick review for your preparers or anybody else in the process. That right there can show you when things are a little bit out of whack where you might not have otherwise seen it. So add that to what you did if you did, right? If you looked at that, make sure that step is in the checklist. Review the trend and the account balance is reasonable, right? That's something that just adds weight to it. Auditors love this stuff. They leave you alone when you do this kind of stuff, right? So then you certify, move on to the next one. Now, as one other example of a rec in BlackLine, this one's a bank rec, right? So a lot of that detailed matching that people are spending hours and hours each month doing, just so they can find the differences and the exceptions. Here it's setting up for success. The data comes in every day automatically. It runs through the matching engine. You get to define what that is, and you're freeing up your users for more valuable, insightful, analytical work, right? They can focus on exceptions. So it'd look a lot like this, right? Now, if you wanted to take a look at BlackLine from a little bit higher perspective, you might have a dashboard that looks like this, right? Now, we pivot into the controller role. That might be oversight of the close that you manage for a particular part of the business, right? So you might want to see things by person. Or you might want to see all the open adjustments, like the kind of like that proposed audit list, adjustment list that the auditors keep. You can have that internally, right? And so you could quickly see that receivables need $3.7 million before they are correctly stated, right? And you can even click on that and you can see the details behind that or whatever the case is here. Now, from a reporting perspective, right, you might care about how timeliness things are. You might want to see the status, you might want to see other things, but as a controller, I found timeliness was such a big thing that I was always focused on. So you've got a grid here at the bottom, a tabular view showing who and what the status is. Was it on time? Was it is not yet due? Was it late? Was it past due? This is the area I would focus on. Now, there's a lot of items here in our demo instance because it kind of resets every night, so the dates are a little bit funky. But you could clearly see that here Kasia has a whole lot of past due things. So does Taro. And you can kind of see the other users here. Kim, our main demo person we use, Kay. You could easily have a conversation with people and find out why. What is it that's past due and why? Virtually every data point in BlackLine is reportable in some way. You can export these to Excel or PDF, run them on a schedule, and data at your fingertips you otherwise might be spending a lot of time searching for if you can even get to it. Now, no overview would be complete without talking about the BlackLine community, right? This is where users can have discussions, you can ask the experts, you can suggest product enhancements, right? Ideas. I suggested several of those as a previous user of BlackLine, right? So when we have meetups, when we have product documentation, even BlackLine U, our online, really robust training platform that has over 500 courses, this is where you'd go to find that. This concludes our view into the controller, accounting manager, and similar roles in BlackLine using the modern accounting playbook. Having real-time centralized visibility into your close helps you get have comfort that the tasks being performed are efficient, consistent, and have high quality, letting you and the rest of the leadership team trust balances and financial results used to make important decisions. If you have any other questions about the content in this video or about BlackLine in general, please reach out to your account executive. We thank you for taking the time to look into BlackLine and help you get yourself and your team one step closer to modern accounting.